surface transportation project, and I can get that specific number. It still has the 5% contingency built in as well. So it's under budget, but I can get the specific number for you. That's based on right-of-way closing out and actually being recorded for the right-of-way acquisition piece.
What I'm really trying to get to is how much is the city going to have to kick into this out of the general fund?
For the project?
Yes.
Short of transportation impact fees, there's nothing that's earmarked for general fund.
Okay. Is that going to clean out the transportation impact fees that we've got?
Pretty close in speaking with RJ.
Okay.
Good news is Joanne's got more permits going out the door that are generating new fees.
Does it leave a balance in the impact fee line?
Right now.
Be zeroed out?
There'll be some money left in there, but those are earmarked for traffic impact fee credits.
Credits.
John?
You kind of covered a timeline. When will people start seeing work done on the street, like people out there and actually like even having to divert traffic if possible?
Well, how we've chosen to kind of stage it, so we've got such a long project, 6 to 30 seconds, a pretty long chunk of work, and so you got that piece of it. You've got the time of year that we're starting this isn't the best time of year when you start thinking about putting curb, sidewalk, those types of improvements in. So what we were trying to structure is that when they first start, they're going to start on the 6 to Washougal River Road piece, just because it's least impact to traffic, and it's very likely they can be able to just jump right in and start with the curb and sidewalk improvements. With kind of this mid-September, I mean, that's unfortunately with all this, it's all contingent on when we get a go-ahead from WashDOT to put the thing out to bid. But I imagine, right away it'll be mid to end of September for sure that you'll see activity out there.
Yeah, I want to thank you. I mean, we've had such during this whole course of this project, we've had such kind of upheaval with getting rid of the roundabout and then you coming in, taking over Kai, and there's just been a lot of pieces. This whole thing could have fallen apart, but I just want to thank you for kind of being there and kind of keeping it together.
I have a comment and a question. So hopefully you won't be closing lanes for long stretches of lengths the way that they're doing on 205 North on the bridge right now, which took me 2 hours to come across at 9 o'clock on Saturday night. But how are bids coming in right now? I mean, a couple of years ago they were quite low, a lot lower than anticipated. What do they look like right now?
They've still been coming in low. I mean, I would say it's been in kind of that 15%.
Wow, we can sure hope for that.
So, but that's what's hard is it's stepping back and like all indications. I think they're going to come in low, but you don't want to hang your hat on that.
Right, right.
But I think it's very likely that like I mentioned, we've got a base bid and an added alternate. I would be very surprised if we couldn't do the added alternate. So.
Okay.
Have you had any other large projects like this that have just, bids have just popped?
We haven't had a large project like this one. They've been smaller water line projects. So like we just, last week we opened one. It was a storm improvement project in Oregon City. And it was like with that one, it was a $150,000 project, and I think the bid came in at $140,000. So it was more, I mean, it's a very small project, but the one nice thing, just mentioning the water system improvement piece, is that that's only gonna help the big picture, because you've got another very large piece of work in an already big project, so you're gonna be like attracting some of those larger quality contractors, or the likelihood of doing so. So I think it's only gonna help us out.
Bud?
Along the lines of the bid process, once you get to that point, how long does the bid process take?
How it works, so when we put it out to bid, it's about a 3-week process when we out the bid.
So a month you'll award?
Yeah, yep. So what I was figuring, like what you do is it's, when you look at the lag manual, it's basically from the day you open bids, you have 20 days previous to that date that it has to be out, out to ad.
And back to what some of the things that Molly asked about, with this time of year, you're talking about the fact that we're starting this thing in September. Does that play into some of the fact that you may get a lower bid, trying to keep their crews busy during the winter time?
Yeah, so with structuring it this way, so the intent, we'll do 6th to 17th is, you know, much of the curb sidewalk improvements done. Anything pedestrian related should be able to get done. And then the nice thing is through the winter, we've got all the utility work from 17th to 32nd. So I think, yeah, considering that, definitely, as a contractor, winter work, keeping guys busy, it's only, you know,
Well, along with that, I wrote down here that in that process, where if we have monies left over, that's appropriate term, in the tunnel, we actually upgraded a couple of items because we had some extra dollars left at the end. And you mentioned or hit on a little bit of this earlier, but what are we gonna do if we have monies left over? Is there any contingency there that says we put it back in the account, or do we upgrade a couple of little things that we can get done while we're out there?
Yeah, I guess, I think there's probably an opportunity to evaluate.
How many ad alternates do you have on there?
We just have just one.
And that's the sewer?
Yeah, prior to the full water line replacement from River Road to 32nd, we had 7 or 8 ad alternates with valve clusters in intersections, you know, just spot repair along the corridor. So what I've seen on a, you know, 26 block improvement like this is you're able to tip out onto the side streets as far as extending utilities a little bit further or extending sidewalk a little further, depending on where the bids come in, and then addressing that as far as via change order if it does come in under budget.
And you probably addressed this, but we're talking specifically about water lines, but how are the sewer lines in comparison along that stretch? Are they
Sewer's in pretty good
in
shape.
good shape?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
We've TV'd that recently within the last couple of years, and it's in good shape.
Good. Okay, thanks.
Probably a silly time to ask this in the process, but are there any other utility folks that we need to be in touch with that may want to go into that?
They've been, we actually had kickoff meeting at the Conceptual close to 16 months ago prior to doing the stakeholder meetings with parcel owners and business owners along the corridor. And Verizon, CPU, obviously we've had a lot of communication with CPU with pole relocation. Verizon, mostly on the north side with a few pole relocations and reconfigurations, so they've been in the loop.
And to add to that, Northwest Natural as well, they've got
They've been
a
doing
good
some-
chunk of their service lines need to be upgraded. So they've gone through a pretty extensive potholing effort. We've been helping them out in terms of, you know, where they can see that, like, what's being affected, what's not, and their intents to upgrade as much of that as they can while we're in there affecting everything.
Once again, we get in the ground, let's get it all done.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Paul?
Two quick things. Along with Northwest Natural, please let's make sure that we notify Verizon and Comcast. They may want to bury conduit at least. But the other thing is, it's a little bitty thing, but one of the